Hello everybody and welcome back, and in this tutorial we will start coding our basic authentication brute forcer, and this will be the last video in this ethical hacking beginner to advanced course. Now after we finish this you will have 25 plus hours of ethical hacking videos where you can learn everything from basics to later a little bit more advanced stuff. Now basically right now, as I said, we want to code the brute forcer in Python. So let us first see what basic authentication is. So let us go on our terminal and just open up our burp suite. So I'll have to show you what a basic authentication example looks like. So every time you go here, let me just close this from the previous video, and for example open up my router right here. It will open up this window which will require the username and password. So this is the example of a basic authentication. Now how do you know it's basic authentication? Well, simply I will just show you right now. As you can see right here, it doesn't, if you do not specify username and password to say protected object, this object called the wrong page server is protected. So right now, in order for us to see that it really is basic authentication, we will open up our burp suite and we will inspect our packet before we actually start coding our brute forcer. So open the burp suite. This should take a few seconds, and right after you open it we need to do the regular stuff such as turning the intercept off and also using the burp suite as proxy in our Firefox. So right here go intercept off for now. Then right here you go to your three lines right here, go to preferences. Now if you skipped the website penetration testing section you will not know how to do this, that's why I'm explaining once again. So scroll down all the way to the lower part where it says network proxy, click on the settings right here, and here instead of the no proxy you want to set up manual proxy configuration, which will be HTTP proxy on your local host at port 8080. You want to make sure to select all of these to be the same and also use SOCKS 5 v5, pardon me. So we want to use SOCKS 5. Click here OK, and now we are good to go. So right now if I just go right here and turn the intercept back on and go right here and refresh this page, now you will see it will ask us for a packet. We want to forward this packet. Right now it will prompt us for the username and password, so we can type here anything. It doesn't really matter. We click here OK, and here we have the packet where we actually send the authentication for that page. As we can see, we know that it is basic authentication, as it says in the lower part, authentication, or pardon me, authorization basic. So this is the authorization that we will actually try to brute force. So this program will work for every website or every login page or every router that uses basic authentication. Now this is the most simple use of it. So we will try to code the program that will actually use multiple threads in order to perform the brute. After that we will add some of the parsing options with opt parser, which will actually specify the options in the sys argument. Now what I mean by that is, let me just close this right now. Since we do not need the burp suite anymore, I just wanted to show you this, what it looks like. And right here we can set back the preferences to be no proxy, since we will not really be needing burp suite anymore. We only used it in order for me to show you, so just set everything back as normal and we can close this page. Now what I mean we will be setting up options, I mean, for example, if you use MacChanger, it will ask you for the options or for the available options for this device, or basically for this program. So if you just type here MacChanger.help, it will say you need to specify these options in order for it to perform these tasks right here. So we will try to code something similar to this. We will add our own options and we will actually say which option does what, and then we will be able to run our program. So right here, let us make a directory which is called, for example, brute forcer, and let's change our directory to the brute forcer. Here we do not have anything since we didn't code anything yet, but let us pass nano our basic authentication.py. So nano basic authentication.py. Now a little bit long name, but it doesn't really matter. You can call it anything you want, as usual. Let us specify the path to our Python. And let us see what we really need to perform in order to code this properly. So we will actually need to import the threading library since we are using the threads in order to brute force. We will also need to import the sys library, which allows us to actually select the options to be as in the MacChanger program, for example. What we will need to do, we will need a file that will contain all the password lists that we will actually use in order to brute force. That is also something that we will need. What we will also need, basically we can add some additional options, such as for example banner for our program, and we also need the usage in order for users to know how they can use our program. So let us start off with this. So let us first, in order for us to actually send anything over the internet, whether it is basic authentication or sending packets or this or that, we need to import the requests library. That library allows us to actually send packets and send usernames and passwords with a simple one-line command. So let us import requests. Then let us import threading, but let's import it a little bit different. So from threading, import thread. We also need to import sys, as I said before. In order for us to parse the arguments, we need to import, well, for now on, that will actually be it, sys, so we can actually use the system arguments. And to parse the options, we actually need to import the getopt library. So import, oops. Now we used all of these libraries instead of this one, so you will be not familiar with this library, but it is not that hard. We basically have a few lines with it, so it won't really present any problem. And right now, let us see what we can actually do in order to make our program work. So let us actually add a banner to our program so users get notified, it looks prettier, and that is very simple to do. Let us add a function called banner. It will not take any arguments, we will just call it, and we can print something that looks, well, that looks pretty, so we can just go like, I don't know, we can just type here hashes, then we print once again, print something like this, for example, our basic brute forcer. It doesn't really matter. You can name it anything you want. This is just so it looks a little bit prettier, so add the double quotes at the end. And here let's print another row of the hashes. So this is what I call a simple banner, and in order for us to run it, you can just type here banner and save this file and check out if it works. Now this is something that we want to run, for example, at the beginning of every program, so it actually prints out this banner, which can be a little bit prettier, but it doesn't matter in our case. So let us continue. This is not really anything important. So right now what we actually want to do is let us actually code the function where we'll actually parse our arguments. So in those arguments we will actually specify all the things that we will use in order to run a command, and we will specify the other functions that we will use in our program. So let's call that function start. So start right here, and what we want to pass in this function is our arguments. So in order to pass multiple arguments, select here argv, and then close the brackets, and then go basically to the function itself. But before we code the function itself, let us actually code the main part of the program, which will call this function. And in order to do that, let us just type here if dash dash name dash dash equals, and then under the double quotes dash dash main. This is something that Python has, so just copy this. It is the syntax for the Python program. And then try, we will run the try and except. So we will try to run the program with the sys arguments, which is basically the arguments that we will specify in our terminal code or terminal command. And what we want to try is actually run the commands one from the and above. Now, why am I using one and then two? One and above is basically because the first command or first actually word in our command will be the program name itself. So we do not want to parse that command as well. We only want to parse everything that comes after the program name, which will be, for example, -w or something else, or we will see. So we only want to parse the arguments that are not the name of the program, so we go from the one and above. Now we can run this except keyboard interrupt. So it actually stops once we interrupt with keyboard. We can print interrupted. So this is our main part of the program. Basically what we coded right now is a simple banner which will print out the simple banner for us. Then we coded if name equals main, try to start this function that we will code in the next video. In any other cases, if we actually want to stop the program, we can just press any key and it will print interrupted and it will close the program. So this is just our basic for our brute forcer. We will continue with the start function in the next video and hope I see you there. Bye.